another groovy day, and that's because, why would that be? Well, it's because it's Life Mastery Radio Day. That's why I get to hang out with some really cool people, my friend Jackie, and we get to bring you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. And I guarantee you today, we have a tool that you're going to want to put in your toolkit and take along. If you don't already, then you'll find out ways, and we'll explore different ways for you to strengthen that muscle. That's the way I look at it. And I'll clue you in. We're going to be talking about intuition today, one of my most favorite subjects. But before we get started, as always, I like to get myself a little centered and situated and organized. And the way I do that is I think about something inspiring. But today, let's think about things that you are grateful for. What is it? Just pick a couple things that you're grateful for, and let's take in a deep breath. Bring that gratitude all the way down deep into your solar plexus. And then let that breath out with just a big ah, and let those grateful things flow up through your heart center, through your throat chakra, and right out of your speaker box out into the universe. Let's do that one more time. And this time, let's think about what it is that you connect to that gives you power, your source. The universe, it could be God, it could be Allah, it could be the dude, it could be the tree outside your window, anything. What is it? Nature? What is it that you connect to? So think about that for a minute. Let's take in a deep breath. And again, let that breath out with just a big ah, and allow it to flow, all those things right out through your speaker box, out into the universe. And here's the deal. Be consciously aware of allowing the universe the opportunity to bring those things to you and to give you more of what it is that you're grateful for. There we go. I changed it up a little bit this morning, Jackie. I don't know if that worked, but
hey, change is good. Change is good.
As always, I have my co-host with me today, the infamous, the one and only, Jackie Bailey. Welcome to the show.
I don't know that you would want to duplicate me, so it's a good thing that there's only one of me.
and here's a little secret. She didn't want me to say anything, but happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. Thank
it was her
you.
birthday
It
yesterday.
was actually Sunday, but
it was Sunday.
It was Sunday. I'm 57.
No,
57. Isn't that nuts?
I was going to say, how's it feel to be 28 years old? 57? I remember when I was 57. I was, yeah. And
yeah.
This year, it's a big year for me.
Is that the big 6-0?
Big 6-0. I can't believe it's, man. I look at my uncles and I think, I remember when you were this age and you were really old.
I know. I know. I think back that when I got married and my parents were in their late 40s, almost about 50. And I remember thinking how old they were. And gosh, I hope they live to see their grandchildren. And here I am now in the same position. And I'm like, I don't really feel that old. But
I know, isn't that I think about that a lot too, and it just blows me away. It's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not that old. I'm only 28. What the heck?
I think 60's what? The new 40s? Is that what they say?
It better be. I'm going to hold you to that. It's going to be groovy. Whatever it's going to do, it's going to be groovy. And I'm going to make it groovy because every morning when I get up, it's a groovy day. Today is Giving Tuesday, Jackie.
It is.
This is a nationwide thing.
It's a global movement.
Global thing.
It's a global movement. And I think it's really only been well known since about 2012 or something like that. So it's still kind of a baby in the big picture of time frames in the planet. But lots of people really enjoy giving on this day, and especially during the pandemic when nonprofits have really suffered horribly through this. it's nice to at least have a day where you're recognized for what you're doing to help change the world. So that's nice.
And you
Yeah.
have a fundraiser. I want to remind our listeners, go to my personal Facebook page and look on my wall, and you will see the Speak, Feed, Lead project fundraising event for Giving Tuesday, and you can help out that project. It's really an amazing project, and it helps kids. Well, I'll let you tell us, Jack. What does the Speak, Feed, Lead project do?
Well, we give voice to all of those voiceless children who are in abusive homes, or perhaps because of abusive situations, they've been now put in foster care, and they have been passed from family to family. They're feeling lonely, isolated, don't know who they are. Also voiceless children who have been put in juvenile detention centers, and they're, they have no voice. No one is really speaking up for them. And perhaps they've used their voice in a negative way, and that's why they've ended up there. And so what we do is we help kids discover who they are and what they can do with their powerful voice. And then we give them tools to be able to use their voice for good things. And so that we teach them to speak. We teach them to feed each other in word and deed using, we introduce new vocabulary words in each class. And then we teach them to lead with positive influence. So that's the Speak, Feed, Lead project. And today for Giving Tuesday, we are doing a 4-hour virtual rally that will be streamed live on Facebook. It is a fundraiser. It's called the Speak Up, Reach Out, and Lead with Influence rally. We want to free kids from silence and give them a powerful voice. So, and Santa Claus is coming. Yay!
So later on this afternoon, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing this afternoon. Well, while I'm sharing the Facebook.
Yeah, you bet. It starts at 12 o'clock noon Pacific time, and it will be streamed live from the Speak, Feed, Lead project Facebook page, and it will go until 4 p.m. Pacific time, and sometime between the 2:30, 3 o'clock hour, the special guest, Santa Claus, will be showing up, and he's going to be reading some stories or telling some stories to the kids that we hope will be on watching during the time. And we've got some other special guests coming on who will be sharing their stories about how they were mentored as youth, how they were coached, how there were people that were there that helped to inspire them to use their voice for good things. So it'll be a powerful way to paint a picture of what's happening with a lot of our youth, but also what's on the other side of the challenges that we all face when we're young.
And Santa Claus will be there.
And Santa Claus. I understand right now he's taking a little break in Scotland. So he's going to be joining us from Scotland. Yes.
Wow. Do I know this Santa Claus?
Huh?
Do I know this Santa Claus?
I don't think you know this Santa Claus.
Okay.
Because you're on the nice list. Actually, I have to say, Todd is on the nice list because he was very generous and gave a nice donation to the Speak, Feed, Lead project. And we appreciate that very much, Todd, because.
And we appreciate you if you go to my Facebook page, Todd Allen, and click on that link, and you'll see all the great things that Jackie's doing. And you could put down a couple of bucks just to help out. It would be, that money goes to help those less fortunate kids. It goes towards I was going to say intuition. It goes toward their tuition to be able to take Jackie's classes and her instruction and find that voice inside of them, find their purpose.
That's right. Everybody today that's listening has the power to help us to raise $10,000 so that 100 at-risk kids, voiceless kids, will find their voice on a stage using a microphone, and they will be able to share that powerful message with the world.
Pretty powerful
Your help.
stuff. I've been part of that, and to witness that, it's pretty cool. Okay, we have a guest. She's been just waiting so patiently. I want to remind listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net. You can go there. Any links that we talk about will be posted there. There's all kinds of fun stuff to do on that page. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can check out my book, link right to the Amazon page, and you'll love that book. And make sure that you give me some. It's really a cool book. It's really a cool read, and I really enjoyed it. I like it, so I know you're gonna like it. Okay, are we done housekeeping? Are we done with all of that? Our guest today is Kim Chestney. She's right there with that big smiley face. Kim Chestney is the author of Radical Intuition. What a couple of words to put together.
It's radical, dude.
Radical.
It's rad.
That's rad.
Bring back rad.
A globally recognized innovation leader and the founder of Intuition Lab. Her work has been featured or supported by leading edge organizations, including SXSW Interactive, Carnegie Mellon University, Comcast, Hewlett Packard, and she lives in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Here's a little bit about it. While working as a leader in the technology sector, Kim recognized the tremendous role that intuition plays in business and cultural progress and set out on a quest to learn everything there is to know about it. As a result of nearly 2 decades worth of research and practice, she has developed a powerful system that anyone can use to tap into their inner wisdom in extraordinary ways. And she's written a really cool book, Radical Intuition, a revolutionary guide to using your inner power. Kim, welcome to the show today.
Hi, great to be here.
Are you having fun yet? Jackie?
Yeah, having fun on this snowy day in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
So intuition, it's been around for a very long time. Some very successful people tapped into it. You know, I think people that I think about are like Thomas Edison and some of the great scientific minds. Tesla, Nikola Tesla attributed a lot of his knowledge and a lot of his inventions to being able to tap into his intuition. Where does this come from? What is intuition? Maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. So yeah, because that was one of the big questions when I set out to write this book, was to define intuition. Because as I talk to people, I realized that if you ask the everyday person what intuition is, you get like a million different answers. You know, some people will tell you it's a gut feeling, other people it's a knowing or a psychic experience or creativity, or there's so many different manifestations of intuition that people kind of don't get what the source is. But really, you know, there's one connected beginning of all of those different manifestations of our intuition, and it's our connection to that place that's higher in our consciousness, whether you call it God, the universe, the Akashic records, the eternal cloud of information all around us. Our intuition is our connection to all of that's beyond this moment in this place and time. So it really can be magical, but it can also be very scientific and very interesting in terms of, you know, physics and talking about very practical ways to integrate it in our worldview.
So what is it? Is it a knowledge? Is it a feeling? Is it information? Is it like a download? Help us to understand. I realize a lot of our listeners probably have an inkling of what intuition is, but there's a lot more to it.
Right. So all of those things that you just described, it's all of those things. You know, and I talk about in the book is really kind of 4 sort of buckets that intuition falls into. And that really are buckets in the way it speaks to each of us. So each of us experiences intuition differently. And that's one of the reasons why it makes it so difficult to teach it. It's not like you can go out and get a book that says, okay, this is a manual for intuition, and this is the same for everybody. We're all different. We all have different emotional sensibilities. We all have different backgrounds and life experiences. So our intuition communicates with us uniquely in all of these different ways. It'll come to us as a knowing or a feeling or an experience that is somehow beyond this normal sort of experiences in the world. So really the way that you experience intuition will be unique. And sometimes it's going to come as a knowing. Sometimes it'll come as a new idea or, a creative energy. All of these different manifestations they all stem from the source of intuition as this driver in our evolution and our personal growth and the unity and connectedness between us all. It's what unites us all behind the scenes. All our intuitions are talking and connected,
I like that. It's what unites us all behind the scenes.
It
And
does.
I think we need a little bit more of that in today's world. Get rid of some of this divisiveness.
Absolutely.
So intuition, what was I thinking? I was thinking something. Jackie, I know you got a question.
Well, I was wondering then if it's a thought, if it's a feeling, how does that relate to quantum physics?
So, I talk in the book about, I talk about intuition as kind of quantum thinking. Sorry, I'm having like a coughing. I don't know why. Oh, it's not the Rona. But I talk about it how, what I love this analogy that, regular old thinking, the way we're used to thinking with our intellect is sort of like Newtonian physics because it's sequential. It's, action and reaction. But intuition's not like that. Intuition is more like quantum physics in that it happens in these magical, almost impossible ways. These wormholes and this entanglement and all of these different ways that we're connected on a quantum level. Is really how intuition operates. So really embracing this idea of intuition, it's no coincidence that it's coming to the forefront now that things like quantum physics and this understanding of the universe is also coming to the forefront. Because, hundreds of years ago, we couldn't understand the universe in that way. And so how could we understand intuition as anything that wasn't magic or spooky, right? Because it didn't make any sense. But now it's starting to make sense as a real bona fide way of thinking and really a complement to our intellect.
And your claim, everybody has it.
Everybody has it, yeah.
Everybody has it. Everybody has the ability to exercise it because it's like a muscle, right, Kim? I mean, it's something that you can exercise and work and get better at.
Absolutely.
And so it's an experience. Here I lost it again, Jack. But
Your intuition, Todd.
It's we probably already answered it. That's why it's not important anymore, right? So it's an experience. We've all experienced it, and in different ways that we've experienced is thinking of somebody and then they call us, right? Mm-hmm. Or I used to practice when I first was instructed in intuition and how it worked. There was a practice that I would do is before I opened up the mailbox, I would try and understand what was in the mailbox. And it became a really good practice. I got really good at it for a while, but then like every muscle, if you don't work it for a while, it goes away, exactly. Right? I think that's the direction I was going.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's a lot of ways I think that our intuition, this is what most people don't realize is that our intuition is working with us 24/7. And a lot of times we don't even notice, right? So, you might be just sitting at your desk and you just out of the blue think of a friend and you might not realize it, but that friend then calls you or sends you an email and they're like, oh, wow. Sometimes you notice it, sometimes you don't, because it's very subtle. You don't have to get out crystal balls and tarot cards to work with your intuition. It's part of how you're designed, but, using tools like that help us to sort of give it the attention that it needs to start to flourish in our life. And even doing exercises like that, a great way to develop our intuition is simply to start acknowledging it, right? And to pay attention to it. Because, energy goes where the attention flows. Energy flows where the attention goes, right? So the more that we look at our intuition and the more that we open up to it and recognize it and honor it, the more that it's going to start to grow and become part of our life. So really opening space for our intuition to come in is so important as we develop it, and then nurturing it by paying attention to it every day.
So why is it then that my intuition is most loudest at 3 a.m.?
Oh, yeah, that's mine too. Totally. So one of the really important things to note with intuition is, it comes to us in the places between our thoughts. So we're all sort of living in this world of toxic overthinking right now. And our minds are going a mile a minute. So it's hard for our intuition to get through. So when we're running around like chickens with our head cut off, our intuition can't speak to us. It might be there, it might come through, we might miss it. It gets lost, right? So in those moments before you go to bed at night, when you wake up in the middle of the night, right when you wake up in the morning, those are the prime times for intuition because your mind isn't awake yet. So intuition still has a chance to get through, so, you hear stories about, scientists and artists and really amazing people just waking up in the middle of the night with like a solution to a formula they've been working on or a new idea for a product or something creative. And it just comes in that flash when the mind is out of the way. So to really hear intuition, we have to get our minds out of the way. Not to say that, our mind is it shouldn't be considered better than the other. I don't like people like say, oh, I'm intellectual or I'm intuitive. No, we want to be both. I mean, real genius is using our brilliant minds and our brilliant intuition. That's the formula for genius. But intuition has to come first. And I do a whole talk on this and why it needs to be intuition first, not because intuition is more important, but because it comes first. It comes in a flash, it comes in an instant, and you just simply receive it. In order to do that, the mind has to come next. The mind has to come second because the mind's going to rush in there and try and take over and talk you out of it and make sense of it, right? Which sort of half the time kills intuition or totally confuses you, one or the other. So you have to learn how to tune into that voice and know when it's real so that you can allow, as Einstein, famously said, that the mind to be intuition's faithful servant. So in the middle of the night, it's great. I always keep a journal next to my bed because I can't tell you how many times I get up in the middle of the night and write things down, because if I don't, then I'll forget them in the morning.
Well, that's where your point about getting the inspiration or listening to your intuition and then letting the mind come in. And the way you do that then is to write it down. Yeah.
I mean, because for me, intuition it's something that it abides, but it also is something that comes in a flash, in an instant. And if you don't honor it and kind of let it sink in that moment, you can move on and it can get lost in all of the stuff you're thinking about in our busy days. So that's why really creating an intuition journal, I tell everybody who starts to work with their intuition just to start a dedicated notebook, just to write down all of your intuitive ideas and serendipities and all of those things that come along with intuition, because that becomes your validation journal. And that's the thing where like, oh, I had this idea about this thing or that thing. And you look at it, 2 weeks from now, 2 years from now, and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally sensed this. And I didn't even know it at the time. And so a lot of, intuition is, in hindsight, 2020, we get those validations. So validation is so important with our intuition, because in order to really follow it and give it a voice in our life, we have to trust it. So we learn to trust our intuition when it comes through for us and when we know we can rely on it. So it does take time to get to that point. It takes time to get to know it and to really be confident in it and develop that relationship. But writing down a journal and keeping track of that is a great way to start.
That is such an epiphany for me, that, you write down those inspiring thoughts or ideas or whatever, because later on you're going to be able to look back at that and go, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense now. That's how you learn to trust it.
Exactly.
Maybe, and I can see how important that is, because sometimes I get these wild and crazy thoughts, and then my mind says, it goes on to override and says, no, that's a crazy idea. That's not going to work because
right.
... And like at that 3 a.m. time when I wake up and I start thinking about, this great idea, and then my mind is going, but you have to get back to sleep because you have to be up in 2 hours or something like that, right? And there's this constant conflict going on.
Well, that's why I think it's important to make space in your day for your intuition, right? Because I think it does come through at night like that for a lot of us when we're busy and we don't give it that voice during the day. So, I always tell people to, make more white space on your calendar, white space for intuition, because intuition kind of is the white space. It's that open space where it can speak from the stillness. Even if you have to put like an hour on at lunch or an hour in the evening to go for a walk, or if you like to meditate, meditation's great. But if you don't, you can do anything that you like to do just to be with yourself and have some of that downtime, taking a hot shower, a nice bath, and just really open space for those intuitive insights and ideas to come to you throughout the day. And you even see companies like Google really doing this kind of thing in their culture. A few years back, they I think it was Google that created the work day, where it was like sort of a 4-day work week. And then they'd have one day, which was like your creative day, which you weren't supposed to be doing any of your projects, but you were sort of supposed to be opening up for new ideas and all of that stuff that, they recognized was so important. But doing that on a daily basis is better because, you know, you can't really silo your intuition to, oh, it'll come next Friday. You know what I mean? Like you want it to come every day. But the more that you open that up during the day, the less you're going to be woken up by it at night.
You know, there's an extreme to that too, right, Kim? Because some of the intuitive insights that come to me are like off the wall, and they're totally life-changing, right? They're just totally nothing that's part of my norm. So is there a part of intuition, maybe the ego's jumping in? What is that really gives me some insight into something that is just totally off the wall?
Well, intuition in itself is totally off the wall. It is extraordinary. It is the unexpected. It is the thing, it's the part of the things that you can't figure out with your mind. It doesn't make any sense. And that's again why intuition can be so elusive, because intuition is that thing that doesn't make sense. And we kind of started to touch on this a little bit when we were talking earlier, is, you know, when we have we doubt ourselves and we say things like, well, this was crazy, or I can't do this, or why did I do this? This is nuts. Because it's a fine line between intuition and craziness, you know, because so much is out there and so much is like, you got to get out of your comfort zone and you got to try these different things. But that's really the secret sauce to greatness. And it's risky and it doesn't always feel easy, right? And sometimes it's the hard way. But with intuition is going to call us to grow and to evolve and change and experience new things and bring our ideas into the world and serve other people in new ways, because that's what life is about. It's about this expansion. It's about this sharing and this growth. So when you're plugged into your intuition and you're in that zone, in that flow, you're going to get these ideas that come and are going to push you outside of those little boundaries that you're in. And part of our duty, you know, with our intuition is to trust that and honor it and know that even if we take these chances, that even if it doesn't work out the way we think it's going to work out, it is the right thing to do. And, you know, we might not always see the end game, but our intuition does.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Oh. So why is your book titled Radical Intuition then? What's the word radical about in this context?
That's a great question. And I get that question a lot. And I think when we were at New World Library, we were talking about what to title the book. And, you know, this was our top contender. And, you know, some people totally loved the title and some people didn't like it at all. And I think, you know, we really settled on it. It really felt right to us because this idea of this intuition revolution that's happening in the world right now. It's, you know, we talk about intuition and we've had sort of, as, you know, as a society, we've had sort of pretty simple ideas about what it is in terms of our, you know, spiritual growth or, you know, creativity, things like that it's connected to. But I think what a lot of us don't realize, and this was sort of the big picture behind the book, is that intuition is actually something that is really infusing itself into the evolution of our culture and society. You know, we're in a place right now, which I say, you know, we're approaching the post-information age, right? We're getting to the point where we are going to be data saturated. We'll reach the singularity. Machines are going to be smarter than us. So all of this quest for information and all this boom for information that we've experienced now, and it's been so wonderful, is going to be something that's largely automated and something that just is running behind the scenes. So what is going to be at this new frontier? What is going to be pushing us forward to allow us to innovate and to go to new dimensions and to open up new frontiers? It's going to be our intuition, because that is the threat. The threshold is the domain of intuition. So, you know, whether we're talking about things like artificial intelligence and robotics or, you know, technology, or even talking about our relationships with the universe and the cosmos, our intuition is the new frontier and the next frontier. And when we embrace that, you know, it becomes a radical change in our life, because we make that choice to no longer, you know, subscribe to the conditioning and the limits of the world around us. You know, we've been taught that we live in this, you know, 3 to 4 dimensional world, I guess, whatever. And you know, that's all there is, right? And when you make that shift to the inner world, as you know, you guys know about, because you talk about that a lot on your show here, you make that shift, it becomes a radical change. When you honor the inner world over the outer world and realize that the real magic and the real power is inside of us. You know, that's the thing that's going to make the big change in our future. And imagine if we all start to do that, how different the world will become.
I want to remind our listeners that you are tuned into Life Mastery Radio with Todd and Jackie. I'm Todd, and that's Jackie. And our guest today is Kim Chestney, and she has written a book. Cue for Kim to hold her book up. Radical Intuition, a revolutionary guide to using your inner power. And it's a really cool book. And I was surfing around in it, and Jackie, I found this in her book. Remember our good friend Corinne Zupko?
Yeah.
The chicken lady. I have chickens too, but she really has a lot of chickens. I found this quote from her about this book. I am often asked the question, how do I hear my inner guidance? I will know the answer to that question by recommending this book. In Radical Intuition, Kim Chestney provides an extraordinarily clear pathway into the art of listening to your intuition so you can find deep peace and lasting happiness. And Corinne wrote a book, From Anxiety to Love. You know, we got to have her back on the show.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So Kim, you hear those kind of comments. You must be getting, so this book just came out. It was released November 3rd. What kind of action are you getting since the book got released? What are you hearing?
Oh, I mean, you know, so it came out on election day, so that was interesting. And you know, we've really tied it in. I think it's definitely a punctuation mark on really this whole process, and I think it's really relevant to what we're going through as a society right now. So even though it's probably the worst day in the history of the universe to ever release a book, it was timely, and I think it's resonated with a lot of people right now, because I think people are really looking to get that that sense of inner clarity and that sense of understanding that, you know, things are going to be okay, and the things that are happening in the world right now are happening for a reason, that all of this stuff that we're going through is meaningful, and in the end is for our own good. And, you know, our intuition and reconnecting with that really helps to find the meaning and to find the purpose in what each of us are going through right now, because, you know, this isn't just some horrible thing that's being inflicted upon us without meaning. I mean, it's everything that happens to us is meaningful. So it's teaching us. You know, we know that there's lessons in here. So so it's been really great. It's been really great. I've really had a real outpouring of support, and I've had a wonderful community, and I have you know, my intuition lab, my online school. You know, the community there has been so supportive, and even, you know, levitating this message and really crafting the work in this book, working together, because, you know, this book has been built by, you know, experience and working with other people, and it's not just me. And I always tell people, you know, read the book, but don't take it from me. This isn't a reading book. This is a doing book. Guidebook. You know, this will teach you how to do it for yourself. This isn't about me preaching. This is about me showing you how to do this in your own life and experience it yourself, so you can build that trust on your own. So yeah, it's been really wonderful.
And you have people in the book that either took part of it or wrote a little bit about it, or you had permission to share some of their experiences. So who helped you to compile some of the information found in the book?
Yeah, so you know, when I set out to write this book, so part of my mission here is really to, you know, to normalize intuition. And in my own journey, you know, I've been a voice for intuition, so I understand that, you know, there's still some reluctance from people to accept it, or to think that it's something, you know, really essential, and to recognize it for what it is. So I wanted to get voices from people from all walks of life who have used their intuition to achieve extraordinary things. So the people, the 9 extraordinary insight leaders, I call them, that we feature in the book, share their stories and their opinions and experience about intuition. And we have such a cool group of people. And, you know, most of these people are people that I've worked with and throughout my career, and in working with intuition and creativity and the arts. And so I had this wonderful opportunity to speak with one of my favorites, was Kim Moses, who was the producer of, we all remember The Ghost Whisperer, that was out, and she produced that for many years, and was really one of the real driving forces behind that. And I really consider her to be, you know, a trailblazer for intuition, even though, you know, it's The Ghost Whisperer and it's ghosts, so it's still a little woo. But you know, that was her idea, to make the main character a normal person, right? So if we think about that, and I love the show, I always loved it, you know, back in the day. And, you know, Melinda was a regular girl. She was a likable, approachable person who had this gift and this ability. So she was one of the first people out there to really present intuition. It's not like you didn't have to be sitting in like a hut in the woods with like, you know, your herbs in your crystal ball to use intuition, right? So, you know, so it really was a trailblazer. So I loved having her. She wrote the foreword to the book. And, you know, we have Kelly Noonan Goras from the Heal documentary, the wonderful, wonderful film on Netflix now that's out, with Deepak Chopra and many other wonderful people, sharing her ideas about intuition and healing, right? And how important it is in healing. And you know, we have Steve Kilbey, the lead singer of the church from the 80s rock band, you know, talking about how he writes songs and uses that to create, you know, these beautiful, elusive tunes and lyrics. So, and there's so many people there. Carl Kurlander wrote St. Elmo's Fire. Remember that show, right? Like he was one of the writers in that, and talking about how it's important it is to use your intuition when you write and when you create. And so having all of these voices come together is really standing up for how important and how normal and essential intuition is. I was really fortunate, and I'm grateful to have their voices in the book.
So you and your book are giving definition to a process that has been around for a very long time. And I really get that you did a lot of research and a lot of investigation. And so what pops into my mind, I'm really curious for guys like Steve Jobs and some of the other great minds that have come up with huge innovation. Is it your understanding, did they actually understand what they were tapping into, or was it just natural for them?
So I love this conversation, and I talk a lot about Steve Jobs. I don't know if we talked about this, but my career is in technology, and I worked in tech for almost 20 years. So I had the opportunity to work with a lot of these companies we're talking about, some of the greatest innovators on this planet. And this is where I started hearing the word intuition, in terms of this sort of imagination age and intuition age that's coming. And so working in this space and seeing really brilliant people with PhDs from some of the best schools on this planet talking about how important intuition is, that's when I realized that this is something that people who have been working in the spiritual community get it. Now people who are out here in the tech community and the genius community, they get it. And it's all of these people in between that we still have to help them to understand what this is. And to answer your question, did someone like Steve Jobs know what he was doing? I think Steve Jobs absolutely did. He was one of the biggest intuition advocates out there. He spoke multiple times about how important intuition was. He gave Autobiography of a Yogi, the book by Paramahansa Yogananda, who really wrote the book on intuition in a lot of ways. For me, it was one of my biggest influences and mentors. To every employee, he gave that book. So he was very conscious of intuition and how important intuitive design was, when building technology. So, I do think it's something that does flow. I think he was naturally open. He had a brilliant creative intuition and creative genius, and that allows those new ideas to flow. And he wasn't afraid to try new things and be different. And that was sort of Apple's thing, right? They were different, be different. And that's one of the hallmarks of intuition. It's why so many outliers and renegades are so intuitive, right? It encourages us to be different, be ourselves, be unique.
Well, I think throughout time, Albert Einstein, Tesla, like I said in the very beginning, they gave us these clues, right? They told us where their creativity was coming from, and yet, it just slipped by us. And something else that I heard you say, I was listening to some videos that you created, and something else that you said was, is we come into this world with this tool. This tool is a huge part of our being when we enter the world. And then it's through our education and through our growing up that we learn to turn it off or turn it down. Can you expound on that just a little bit? And then we end up being adults and we're just totally lost.
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I really like, what Jackie's doing, with today's youth. And it really got me thinking in the beginning when we were talking about this. I'm glad we got to circle back to this, because, really instilling intuition in young people right now is more important now than ever, because giving them a voice, giving their intuition, their real self, their true
Their
self
outlet,
voice,
right?
is our outlet. And that's, you know, we, like you said, our generation, you know, a lot of us have really, you know, we were so creative. We're children. We have this imagination, and we go to school and we're taught to be smart. We're taught to, you know, learn formulas. And, you know, music and art and all of those intuitive things are just kind of like, okay, they're nice, you know, but like, you know, we don't really focus on them. And actually developing that intuitive side is like, you know, sometimes people don't even believe it exists, you know, that it's just some sort of, you know, nonsense emotion or feeling that, you know, women have or something, right? So it's changed so much. And it's so important now more than ever that we, you know, we rethink learning, you know, and I was in Pittsburgh, part of the Remake Learning group for many years, thinking about how injecting creativity and intuitive learning into the curriculum so that we encourage kids to open that up and say, okay, no, that imagination, that creative side of you, that's real, that's important, that's valuable, because that's what's going to make you really valuable. Now, when the machines have, you know, gotten to that singularity, you know, they're going to want that creative thinking and that ability to think outside the box.
Because, yeah, I don't care how, it's my own, I'm into computers, and it's just my determination that AI will never, in my opinion, reach that creative capability. Or
Well,
that
that's what I was
insight.
going to ask, Todd, because with Kim coming from the technical background and Steve Jobs and all those geniuses claiming that their intuition is what led them to be able to do these things. Well, now all of these smartphones and devices that we use every day, they're trying to make more intuitive. And I'm wondering if that is going to help our own tuition, or is it going to replace our own tuition if there's this device that's sort of thinking ahead of us all the time? What do you think?
Yeah, no, these are really good questions, and things these are the things that keep me up at night, Jackie. And I actually had a really good conversation about this just yesterday. I was talking with a colleague from Carnegie Mellon University. He's a programmer and he builds robots. And so, you know, I was trying to pick his brain. I'm like, so, you know, we need to talk about these robots and intuition. And it's really interesting because, you know, I've talked with, you know, many different roboticists about this subject, and everybody has a kind of a different idea, because nobody quite knows what's going to happen. But you know, I just launched a 10-day summit right now that you guys can go and sign up for free on my website. And one of the people that I interviewed was Jesse Schell, who's also in the book, and he is a game designer, and he was on Through the Wormhole with Morgan Freeman talking about life as a simulation, and he's an amazingly genius person. So we had a really good conversation about this kind of subject, and do machines have intuition? And what is the future of that intuition? And so it was a really interesting conversation. I'm not going to pretend to answer it as well as he did. So you can watch his video if you want. But I do think, long story short, that, you know, for me, I look at intuition as, no matter what happens with those machines, our intuition is going to be what keeps us one step ahead. Right? Because we still have that intuitive foresight, that ingenuity, that sense of innovation that so far we've been unable to come close to replicating.
It's beyond logical,
algorithms.
right, Kim?
Right.
It's just beyond logic, which computers are logic. So it's
and part of the problem is right now, at this point, we still have to program the machines, right? And we don't even program intuition, right? And, you know, we're not even in control of our intuition. So, you know, it's not a thing that we can program into a machine, because it's still something that comes from beyond us, right? We're still trying to understand the source of and how to harness that. So, so we're a long way away from, I think, machines out intuiting us. But I do think that, you know, machines have a type of intuition of their own. And as long as we keep building our own intuition, we're still going to be out in front. So hopefully we don't worry about taking over the world.
That's a very cool answer. As long as we continue to exercise this muscle, we're going to be a step ahead. That's
so.
Cool.
If for no other reason that you don't want the robots to take over the world, you have to go out there and develop your intuition.
Nice.
So you gave us a little teaser. You have a couple of programs coming up that I want to make sure our listeners understand. You have a free one, and then you have another one where you're going to be taking people step by step through the process.
Yeah. So it's just like the program I just mentioned, our 10-day Wake Up Your Intuition event and summit, that features everybody in the book. So it's a big, deep conversation on all of the people in the book. And then, but it's also tied together with a 10-step journey to sort of wake up your intuition. We have readings from the book. We have daily workshops. So it's really an immersive experience. So I really love it. And at each day you have like 2 talks and different activities to kind of wake up different parts of your intuition. So it's a nice 10-day sort of, kind of creates a inner retreat that you can just kind of jumpstart your intuition. And that's totally free. So you can sign up for that on my website. And then we also, for people who are really like into this and loving it, like as much as I do, I'm starting up through Intuition Lab. In January, we're doing an online course, a 6 weeks program where we go into a deep dive and work on our intuition together. You can work live with me. I can help you directly to work with your intuition. And it's so much fun. I've done versions of this course before, but this is our very first official Radical Intuition course. So anybody who wants to get out and work in person, it's a lot of fun.
So entice me a little bit. What can I expect if I took your 6-week course? How would I come out on the other side?
Yeah, and I think I call it an intuition awakening course, really, because it's really about doing the work, so it takes a lot of the principles and the ideas of radical intuition. And then we actually go through that process together and we start to move into that intuitive space and open up space for our intuition, and then create practices and exercises, kind of little stuff we talked about earlier, little things you can do every single day to get out there and practice your intuition and start putting attention on intuition and actually like determining what intuition is and isn't. So by the end of the course, you should have a really good idea of what's your real intuition and what's your thoughts, what's your fears, what's your inner critic, all of those other different voices, because we don't just have one voice in our head. We have a bunch of voices, but we have one true voice. And intuition is about tuning into that true voice and centering our lives on that instead of all this other stuff. So that's the end goal of this program. And in the process, you can make new friends and new community, and it's so much fun.
Cool. That sounds.
So where do they find links for those workshops?
You can go to intuition-lab.com. That's Intuition Lab, and the program's called Illuminate, the Radical Intuition Masterclass. You can also find it on my website under the Intuition Lab dropdown. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, I think in your book, there are some conclusions you draw to archetypes, certain archetypes. I think there's 4 of them.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that relates to intuition?
Yeah, I love the archetypes. So I created these archetypes as kind of like a fun way for people to sort of relate to these different manifestation or quote unquote types of intuition. Yeah. So the 4 archetypes are the healer, the sage, the visionary, and the mystic. So those archetypes sort of embody the energy of each of the pathways of intuition, like we talked about earlier. So the healer works with intuition of the body, people who are like yoga teachers or, Reiki, and doctors, people who are in fitness, people who have a really strong connection with their body and healing, very often identify with this healer archetype with their intuition. And then the sage is people who are knowers, they're the people who are like the intuitive thinkers, and they can make good decisions, and they just intuitively have the knowingness to recognize things in different situations. And then the visionary, people like Steve Jobs, who are out there just creating change and innovating in really powerful, creative ways, artists, leaders, people leading companies. Even parents are out there doing their own creative thing in a lot of ways with their children. So it's, it's the macro and the micro. And then ultimately the mystic, which is the really, sublime part of intuition, where we really experience that connectedness to life in the universe and have those metaphysical experiences in the way that, the world touches us really from another dimension.
Where do I sign up?
Come and join it. It's fun.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, I totally can imagine.
We do a whole section on each archetype in the program, so it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Oh my
Nice.
gosh, ladies, we only have about 5 minutes, 4 minutes left. Although I think that Contact Talk Radio made me the host.
Yeah, we
And
lost
they
them. didn't we?
lost their internet connection. I just got a message. So we could keep going.
We could
all
go
the-
forever.
Go forever.
There's nothing stopping us.
But realistically, we only have about 4 minutes left. And Kim, I thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really hope you'll come back.
I would love to. This has been really fun. You guys are the best.
Oh, wait a sec. Jackie, get that testimonial from her. We need to put
That's
that up.
right.
You're
We
the
are the best, she said. 100%.
Is there anything that we're missing? Is there any last parting shot that you have, a message wise, that would entice us some more or would inspire us? Entice us or inspire us? Your choice.
How about just remind everybody how important it is to be true to yourself. And, I always say at the end, to your own higher self, be true, because when you're true to yourself, all of your life will fall into place. So that really is the linchpin, is using your intuition to connect to your true heart, your true mind, and the true core being of who you are.
What did you say? You said something along the lines of be true to yourself.
Is the most revolutionary act.
Be true to yourself is the most revolutionary
Wow.
act. Boy, that's a statement.
I'm writing that one down.
Yeah. That was
I heard this morning somewhere that you created that meme and it went viral.
It did. It did. And that before it got shut down on Facebook during the election because they thought it was like election propaganda. So yeah, it was going great for a while. And then all of a sudden it was like, it was like, okay. But that was good because I realized that we really hit a nerve. I think people need to know now that, how important it is for us really to stand up for who we are and for what's right and for our truth.
So how can a reader get that from your book? What are they going to learn from your book that's going to make them go, yeah, that's me, and I'm going to stand on my
Yeah, well, because part of we can't stand up for our truth unless we know what it is, and a lot of times we don't want to look at it, or we don't want to face it, or we've pushed it down. And that's why intuition, the more you open up your intuition, it takes you back to that true self. It takes you back to who you are. And people say, I don't really know who I am, but your intuition does. Your intuition knows what you're made for, and your intuition knows why we're all here and what this is all about. So the deeper we go into that intuition, and the more that we connect with that true self, the more we're able to know this is who I am and this is what I'm going to stand for. And I'm not going to put up with these things, or I'm not going to accept things, or whether it's illusions or conditioning or what other people tell us. I'm not going to accept those things. I'm going to accept my truth and stand by that.
That's so awesome, because I have an adult program. We teach kids as well, but we have an adult program that does just that. It helps people to find how their life experiences have shaped their personal story, and then how they can insert that into a message that inspires and changes the world. So we are on the same page, girlfriend, because being authentic is just, sometimes it's hard.
Yes.
You have well-meaning friends that want to tell you how to do something, and because you look at them as being knowledgeable, you go, okay. But there's something inside of you. It's that intuition that's saying, no, this isn't what you need to be doing. And so the more courage we have to listen to that authentic part of ourselves, the more success we're going to have and the better off we're going to be, I think.
Yeah, I always say authenticity is the measure of our awakening. The more that we awaken, the more we become truer to ourselves, and we don't have to put on those different hats for different people to please other people. And the deeper we go into authenticity, the closer we are to knowing ourselves and being ourselves. So yeah, so it's a wonderful program. It sounds like you have.
Yes, thank you. Maybe we'll collaborate sometime soon.
Yes.
Get a hold of
I
her.
love collaboration.
I know.
So.
Jackie her whole world opens up when we have some really cool guests. Me too. I think it's really cool. I think your book is worth the read, and I want everybody to go to lifemasteryradio.net, follow the links from today's show page, and you'll find Kim Chestney and her book easily. Ladies, thank you so much for making
Thanks,
this
Todd.
an awesome show. And did I meet your expectations? Did you have fun, Kim?
Yes, I definitely had fun. And we had some good watchers out there too. So
Nice.
Thanks to everybody for watching.
Yeah.
That's
good.
about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please tell a friend about Life Mastery Radio and the really cool people and the really cool things that you get to learn and find out about. Lastly, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice, and you can choose to start exercising your intuition. Find Kim.
Amen.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so are you going to stop the live feed, Todd?
Can I do it? Can
I
I
think
do
you-
it?